Person in Person is brought to you by the Perineum Group, the only truly centrist news organization.
That's right, Greg. We're in the sweet spot between partisan extremes. When tain't the left and tain't the right.
It's Perineum.
Tonight on Person in Person. Dolls well that ends well.
Hollywood Boobalon.
The lowest bar.
I'm not going to do a hillbilly joke.
Not all heroes wear lipstick.
The angels made me do it.
All these stories plus weather, sports, food crime, and stayed up. That's tonight
on Person in Person.
Good evening, wherever you are, whoever you are, and welcome to Person in Person. I'm Gene Person.
And I'm Greg Person.
No relation. Person in Person is a news show for people who don't like news shows, by people who don't like news shows. No lofty aspiration of journalistic integrity here. We pick and choose the stories we talk about. It's funnier that way. Another stimulus may be coming. Democrats on the Hill indicating that if they can't pass it through bipartisan means, they'll do it through budget reconciliation. Let's be clear about one thing. Though Biden outlined this stimulus package, Bernie Sanders is the one getting it done. And do you know how difficult it is to hold a gavel when you're wearing mittens?
I do, because I used to be a judge in seal court.
House Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene has been stripped of her committee assignments because she's a goddamn cartoon character who thinks all the memes are about real things. Every time Marjorie Taylor Greene says something crazy, an angel gets shivved by a lizard person.
So I had a thought about this the other day when I heard that they'd taken away her committee assignments. It's, and this is the same woman who has posed with an assault rifle next to pictures of Ilhan Omar. Imagine if you're at your job and there's somebody who keeps threatening your life, and you go to HR and they say, well, obviously we can't fire her, but we are going to considerably reduce her workload. Will that help?
Exactly. Canada has made a shocking decision to label terrorist organization the Proud Boys as a terrorist organization, comparing them to ISIS and Al-Qaeda. It's just the latest in a long string of controversial stances Canada has taken in recent years, among the most notable including that healthcare is important, poutine is delicious, and of course that the USA is just down there a few clicks.
Tell you what, those Proud Boys better hope they don't see me in seal court.
Enough about the news! It's me news! Our first story tonight, Texas Department of Public Safety has apologized for accidentally sending out an Amber Alert message indicating that Chucky the doll from the Child's Play movies was the suspect in a kidnapping. The victim of the kidnapping was actually Glenn, son of Chucky. The alert was sent out as a result of a test malfunction, and the department apologized for the confusion caused by the incident. But first off, this alert didn't just get sent to every phone in the state once. It was sent 3 times. I don't know if some horror fan just set these files up for a laugh or how it actually got pushed out to all the phones. And I didn't bother taking a look because I was too busy laughing at a screenshot of the Amber Alert.
Which I have since seen, and it is hilarious.
It really is pretty funny. Chucky's description in the alert is 28 years old, 16 pounds, 3 foot 1 inch tall, with red hair and blue eyes, also described as, quote, blue denim overalls with multicolored striped long sleeve shirt wielding a huge kitchen knife, end quote. Big shout out to character actor Brad Dourif, who voices Chucky and is really one of those actors that nobody seems to know, but is in a lot of really great stuff. One of my favorite actors, truth be told.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I do want to just add one thing to this story for all you parents out there. If Chucky abducts your child, let him go, man. It's not worth it.
That doll is menacing. So yeah, they're blaming it on a big mistake, but somewhere deep down I suspect something more sinister, Greg. No word yet on who the actual puppet master might be. On to the next story.
All right. So 6 heroes were arrested and charged with misdemeanor trespassing Monday after altering the iconic Hollywood sign to read Holly Boob. Yeah, they went...
Holly Boob.
See, and this is the part that I can't figure out. Is, yes, it's funny to make things say boob. If you've ever even operated a calculator, you know that. But
yeah,
Holly Boob, it doesn't, that's not a natural pair that would come to mind.
No, it's not.
And I like a natural pair. I like a...
Well, if we're talking about boobs, yeah, same here.
But, in 2017, it was actually, quote-unquote, vandalized to say Hollyweed, which is way better.
Yeah, at least that then sounds like a thing. I think it might be really funny to just replace the H with a G.
Gollywood?
I think Gollywood is hilarious.
Well, different strokes for different folks. That's how you get Gollywood.
Yeah, or Holly Boob.
You know what I was thinking, though? Is I think, what if this is just guerrilla marketing for a Cool World remake? You remember that movie?
I do. Is there a Cool World remake being floated? Is that happening?
I mean, there is now. This is us pitching it.
Oh, I see. Well, yeah, Hollywood if Holly could, right? That was the tagline?
Yes, Hollywood if Holly could. Exactly. The weirdest, grossest movie.
So, I didn't particularly like it, but...
No, it sucks. It's just a bad movie. It fails on every level, but...
So my big question, why are we pitching it?
Well, everything old is new again. I mean, they made, 8 Transformers movies?
Oh, right. Money.
Yeah,
money is why
exactly. I mean, and the density of cartoon perverts is much higher in the 21st century.
Sure.
Now, I believe in the creative destruction of monuments, as you know, but I think it should be left to the professionals, which is to say Spaniards. So, what I'm proposing is, if you guys want to hop on our Patreon and contribute to this project, all the money that we raise in the next month is going to go toward hiring house painters and little old ladies from Spain to come over and just go buck wild on all of our biggest monuments.
Agreed. I mean, they just have a talent for it. And we're in the middle of, dare I say, a renaissance in Spanish art restoration. And unfortunately, it doesn't flow into our culture at this moment. So let's bring them over.
I mean, they can do it. Si se puede.
In Florida, attorney Andrew Spark has been disbarred after it was discovered that he used his attorney privileges to visit women in jail and record sexual encounters with them to make a good old-fashioned porno. Last week, the Florida Supreme Court ruled that the attorney is disbarred retroactive to July 2019. He'd been on probation after pleading guilty to charges of solicitation of prostitution, but this seals the deal. He probably represented himself in the hearing. I mean, who do you call in a situation like this? Saul Goodman?
Yeah, you're pretty much burnt by the local legal community, I think, at that point.
Yeah, I'm surprised he wasn't just content with the sex. He had to film it, too. Maybe that's his kink, I don't know. But it's also evidence. Andrew Spark played himself, both in the porn and in real life. One of the women represented by Spark was asked by a fellow inmate how she ended up in prison, and she was quoted as saying, "My lawyer fucked me."
So if he is disbarred going back to 2019, is that, are all of his cases now mistrials, or, what happens?
No, he didn't have any. He didn't have any cases in that interim. July of 2019 was when he was suspended on those charges of solicitation. Yeah.
So he had been suspended the whole time, wasn't practicing, but still found time to go down to the jailhouse and record himself sexually assaulting inmates.
No. So he was suspended for soliciting the prostitution, and then this evidence came out in the interim, I think, and they were like, okay, you're done. Okay,
so he was doing this concurrent with the prostitutes.
Yes. Yeah, it was all part of the same kit and caboodle.
Well, listen, I'm not a psychologist, but I think this guy might have a real problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a fair assessment.
I am a fortune teller, though, and therefore more qualified than a psychologist to render a clinical assessment.
Greg, you're doing it. You're making me angry.
Well, I mean, my fortune-telling license did expire, but I can get it renewed. You literally just have to answer an ad online.
Right. I wonder if that's how this guy got his law degree.
I mean, at some point, Somebody looked at that guy and was like, officer of the court, right there. Now it's gonna stay in kind of a gross, sad vein. North Carolina is considering legislation to raise the marriage age to 18. It's currently 14, which is tied with Alaska.
Fuck?
Yep. Oh, it's gonna get worse because I'm gonna read you some more stats if you're okay with that. But I am asking because it's about to get gross.
Okay.
So in North Carolina, they surveyed 50 counties and they found 4,000 minors are married, but the number is estimated to be closer to 10,000 if all 100 counties were reported. But it gets worse.
Jesus Christ.
Of those married children, 93% married an adult, with 200 being married to someone 10 years or more older than the child.
So they're creating loopholes for sickos is what they're doing.
Oh, well, see, this requires parental permission, or a court can grant it if there's a pregnancy or children involved. So it's all above board, yeah.
Loopholes for sickos, that's all I'm hearing.
Well, I think if your parents consent to you being married to an adult at age 14, a child services agent should pop out from behind the couch with handcuffs and a plane ticket to the destination of the child's choice.
Absolutely. This whole story is fucking deplorable.
But if you were wondering what's the next thing that's going to get Redditors to band together to stop it, it's probably going to be this.
Jesus, what an episode. Lots of sex stories this week.
Well, you know, it's funny because as I was writing my notes, I noticed the same thing, that all of my stories were basically about sex crimes. And so I said, just noticed all my stories about this week are sex crime related. Sorry, everyone.
Our next story, in Slovakia, a man robbing a gas station was thwarted in a very creative way. The thief, a 24-year-old man, approached a gas station employee demanding cash, making death threats. After getting his cash, he punched the employee. The employer informed a coworker what was happening, and that coworker exited through a back door and phoned police. Amazingly, when police arrived, they discovered the robber was still on the scene. Why, you may ask? A woman was half naked and performing oral sex on the robber.
No.
Yup! As far as keeping a perpetrator at the scene of the crime, this method probably works better than others.
I mean, that'll work, but you don't get paid enough for that. You work at a gas station, lady.
Well, I don't know that this was an employee at the gas station. In fact, they didn't know quite how she entered the picture.
Okay, so the woman was not also an employee at the gas station.
No, but she did basically keep him there until the cops arrived. Officers say the man put up stiff resistance to her tactics.
Nope, I'm sorry, you're canceled.
And that coercive measures were used against him. This happened in the Slovakian capital of Bratislava. Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. No more.
Now, I have no sympathy for this guy on a number of levels. Mm-hmm. But the thing that blows me away, if you'll forgive me, is
I love it.
He's in the middle of a robbery, and
right.
A woman comes up to him apparently and just starts yanking his pants down, and he's not like, listen lady, I am busy. Right. I am in the middle of something. Let me airdrop you my number.
Apparently fellatio is a full-on cancel button that just shuts him down.
I mean, to be fair, that is somewhat relatable.
Yeah, and relatable.
I don't know if I could resist the temptation in the midst of a robbery, but I'm willing to try.
I think your blood is up, your heart is pumping. I know a lot of sexual sadists get a real thrill out of the crimes they commit, and so I wonder if like he was already in sort of a heightened state of, horny robbing.
Or is he just in a mindset where he thinks everything's going his way today?
Yeah, maybe.
He gets away with the money, he's like, woohoo, and then this lady shows up and he's like, I knew there was something different about this day.
Right.
I'm glad I didn't just stay at home checking football scores.
And by football, you mean soccer, because this was Slovakia.
Right.
All right. How about our next story, Greg?
Okay, so this one's another one that's a little dark and sexual. My apologies. There's a faith healer named Todd Bentley who left his ministry a year ago after being called out by a panel of his preacher peers as unfit for the ministry because of a long and varied list of sex crimes. He recently announced his return to the ministry as instructed in Conversations with Angels and God himself.
Yep. When God orders someone to do something, it's never just getting your friend a cup of coffee, right?
Right. And well, or even just basic decency. God never says, hey, I wrote this book about how you should all be nice to each other, so I'm reiterating that message. It's always like, no, I want you to defile the land in my name, which is convenient for the kind of people who claim to hear God's voice.
Pretty convenient for them, yeah.
I personally can't wait to see what else God tells him to do and to whom, but I bet it's not great.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say, if this is the energy that he's starting his new ministry with, place your bets for a year from now. He's either immolated in his compound by the FBI, or it's Flavor Aid in Guyana. It's one of those two.
I'm going to put my money squarely on Pedo Megachurch.
Yeah. I mean, he'll have stiff competition there, but we can wish him the best of luck. You know, anyone who buys any part of this story, they don't deserve what happens to them next, but there's not really a way to protect them from it, because if this is the kind of thing that you hear and you think seems legit, no amount of explanation is going to reach you.
Yeah, I mean, it's true.
I hope all those people make it out relatively unharmed.
Same.
So, yeah, a bit of a bummer to end our week's stories with.
But that's okay, because we've still got the emotional weather.
Greetings, gentle listeners. If you enjoy this podcast, you may also like Brose, a mirthy talk show starring 4 bros who sip wine and consider questions submitted by you, the audience, about current events, pop culture, and which Muppet you should get tattooed on your back. Subscribe to Brose wherever you get your podcasts. That's Brose. Brose, the podcast for those who drink rosé.
Our emotional weather this week: needy, greedy, and seedy.
All right, so for needy, Bernie Sanders, who's the president of the United States on Earth Prime, raised over $1.8 million for Vermont Wheels on Meals and other... Wait, did I say Wheels on Meals?
It's an important charity that we put wheels on all the burgers and sandwiches out there. I mean, at least that's where we start, because the bread makes it easy to attach the wheels.
Yeah. Well, that's how we got the Wienermobile. But it's actually Vermont Meals on Wheels and several other charities as well, by selling shirts emblazoned with his famous inaugural sitting pose that everyone's seen. Which, by the way, I never tire of pointing this out, completely overshadowed the spectacle he was actually there to watch.
That's true.
He was just there to be made to sit in the cold and watch Katy Perry, and which, you know, that's the grumpy look on his face. He's old, it's really cold outside, and he has to watch a bunch of stuff that frankly nobody's interested in.
Right.
So this brings the score of money delivered to people in need to Bernie, $1.8 million, Joe Biden, 0. So, in conclusion, I sure wish I lived on Earth Prime.
Don't we all? My story for needy this week: the COVID-19 epidemic has been causing steeper divides between the haves and have-nots everywhere, but also in France. An organization launched by a man in Lyon is generating funds to help the homeless by asking local businesses and their employees to donate a day or more of paid annual leave. The employer then donates that day's pay to the organization, the Company of Possibilities, which uses the money to help the homeless. As far as solutions go, it isn't as good as the company just outright making the donation without making their employees sacrifice, but it's something that helps the most vulnerable, and so I'm in favor of it.
I mean, I guess it's better than giving nobody anything, but why does it always... The onus always falls on the workers. Just give people money. Just give them the money.
Yeah, you don't need to ask your workers for the help. You have the money. You are the owners. You have the money. This is an oligarchy.
Or give the means of production to the workers, and there are no more unfortunates.
Yay! Everybody wins. It'll never happen.
Maybe not, but we can dream. we can dream.
Which is a really fantastic segue into Greedy.
Yeah, for my Greedy news, Amazon will have to pay $61.7 million to its flex drivers after spending the last 2 years stealing their tips. Fun fact, wage theft is the largest category of theft by a margin so big you wouldn't even believe it, and almost never punished.
Of course not.
This is actually as much money as Jeff Bezos makes in, assuming an 8-hour day, he makes this in 2 hours. So he personally, this is not Amazon's profits over 2 hours. This is Jeff Bezos in 2 hours.
Yeah.
In what is probably unrelated news, Jeff Bezos is stepping down as CEO of Amazon to spend more time with his rare child collection.
So, my Greedy story, Tyson Foods, a giant in the food business, has agreed to a $221.5 million settlement with 3 consumer and purchasing groups after being implicated in price fixing, though Tyson did not have to admit any guilt as a result of the settlement. Peter Carstensen, an antitrust advocate from the University of Wisconsin Law School, says the lawsuit isn't likely to change anything at all Tyson Foods is doing. But now that Joe Biden is in office, it'll change, right? Wrong. Biden's agricultural secretary pick is Tom Vilsack, who worked in the department during the Obama administration and has, quote, made a career of catering to the whims of corporate agricultural giants, some of whom he has gone to work for, while failing to fight for struggling family farmers at every turn. So, I wanted to talk about something really quickly. This isn't in my notes, but when I went to pick my Greedy story, I had so many fucking stories to choose from.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I was spoiled for choice as well. There is literally every day a crime against humanity being committed by a corporation.
On that cheery note,
right? Let's bring some chuckles to this show. God damn.
All right, Seedy.
Now, folks, I have some good news for you. Some news that you could have knocked me over with a feather. We've been spitting out watermelon seeds our whole lives. Turns out that was stupid and wasteful, and we should never do it, because watermelon seeds are some of the most nutritionally dense food there is. Watermelon seeds are packed with protein, omega-3 and 6 fatty acids, all kinds of vitamins and minerals. And, but fortunately, chefs and nutritionists and all this kind of stuff are starting to catch on to it now. You can buy roasted watermelon seeds, or of course, just get a watermelon, enjoy your delicious, tasty watermelon, and then roast the seeds yourself. It's very easy to do. And you can even buy watermelon seed butter now, which, by all reports, is kind of like tahini. So, I'm telling you right now.
Neat.
Yeah, it's super cool because I already loved watermelon. The only thing I didn't like about watermelon was having to spit out the seeds, and now I don't have to. I can crunch those bad boys up and tell myself I'm eating a complete meal. So, I'm pledging now, and I'm urging all of you, I'm never spitting out a watermelon seed again, and neither should you.
The pandemic has had all kinds of effects, including economic ones, but one is perhaps even more troubling. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a sperm shortage. Between weight gains from inactivity and COVID itself, which can have a marked effect on fertility, there's a shortage in sperm for women and couples wanting to conceive. There is a solution, however, and they're called sperm kings. These men donate their sperm, often free of charge, through online networks. Most of this is done through artificial insemination, although some sperm kings insist on natural insemination only. There are Facebook groups. It's goddamn fascinating, and it was a fun rabbit hole to go down this week.
That's what he said.
As you know, every week our investigative team presents a detailed and harrowing story on food crime. This week, Greg Person has a story.
Now, when I discovered this, I thought it was a joke, and I still do, but apparently some people more committed to never eating a single carb than they are not being completely ridiculous have been using avocado halves for hamburger buns.
Uh-huh.
Now, I don't need to explain to you, Gene, or to our listeners why this is stupid, but I am a little bit impressed that they found the absolute worst material for this job and then just decided to roll with it.
Frankly, My avocado don't want none unless you've got buns, hun.
Our apologies to Sir Mix-a-Lot. We will be sending your royalty check as soon as we can find your address. No, but the thing is the main attraction of using bread as a conveyance for meat or other sandwich fixins is that it's not slimy.
Right. It's not slimy. It's not mushy. I had a discussion with Gil about this afternoon, honestly, because she's always looking for she can't eat gluten, so she's always looking for any solution to that will allow her to have a burger. But she did concede the point that as far as what you want to put your hamburger in between is not the best substance. It's just going to fall apart.
It's literally, unless it was grape jelly, I can't imagine anything worse.
Right.
I mean, we already had lettuce wraps. I mean, those were stupid because the lettuce got hot and it's wet and wilty and it's not good. But that's
right.
That's 100 times better than an avocado. Like, I can't even think of a worse thing to use.
There's got to be a solution here. Maybe we'll figure it out and make $1 billion.
Well, I mean, just put the ingredients on a plate instead of in between two things.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and that's certainly how she has her burgers often right now. I don't think that's ideal. You don't get the full burger experience that way.
This, though, is not a burger experience.
It's closer than just eating them off a plate with a fork and knife.
Even just getting two plates and kind of pushing the ingredients between the two plates, it makes more sense than using an avocado.
And it's a fun image. That sounds like a Double Dare stunt.
That does sound like a Double Dare stunt. I would watch that. In fact,
yeah.
I will pay $5 to anyone who wants to send me a video of them trying to eat a sandwich made out of two plates.
Right. Folks, it's sports. Okay, so this week's sport is rock, paper, scissors, proving that the Brits aren't the only ones who celebrate useless sports. Rock, paper, scissors at the professional level is worldwide, baby, since 2002. I watched a video of one of the tournaments, and despite the fact that it was overproduced, complete with commentary, it was about as exciting as you might expect.
What was the commentary about?
It was like, he's facing a big threat. If he misses another one, he may be out of contention. Your usual commentary stuff. It wasn't playing up the skill of the players. It was just basically stating the obvious, which is what commentary kind of is.
So it's like, well, in this round, he could either throw a rock or paper or scissors. We don't know yet which one he's going to choose.
Right. Only they make it sound more exciting, but it's still not exciting. If, on the other hand, if you're looking for a sport with a low bar of entry, almost no stamina or endurance needed, let alone physical fitness, that just about anyone can do, and that isn't fucking toe wrestling, you could do worse, I guess.
For a full day of a rock, paper, scissors tournament, though, how long are they playing rock, paper, scissors?
I don't know, and I don't want to know because it's just going to make me sad.
Because I have never timed how long I've played rock, paper, scissors before getting bored and stopping, but it's less than 30 seconds.
It definitely. I can't imagine the raw endurance it takes in that regard.
I mean,
that's all emotional endurance.
Well, you've got to have the flashing before your eyes scenes of every better thing you could be doing with your life.
Right. And the prize, I think, was $50,000. So,
well, for $50,000 though, I'd waste a day doing almost anything for $50,000. I mean, I'd spend the day sucking off gas station robbers for $50,000.
Yeah, I don't know how to segue that into my dad tantrum, but we're going for it.
All right.
It's time for a dad tantrum. Little Gene is fortunately out of diapers for some time, but when he was in diapers, it never ceased to piss me off. Then we'd go on a trip or out to eat, obviously in the pre-pandemic times, there was almost never a changing table in the men's room. It's 2021. Moms aren't the only ones who change diapers, and if the room doesn't have a changing table, Daddy has to do a weird kind of squat thing to change the kid that is hell on your legs and back, but keeps us all from making skin-to-floor contact with the restroom. Even rest areas in the progressive states of Oregon and California don't have this minor convenience for parents. And I mean, come on! It's the 21st century, and parenting is stressful enough. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate, just a little space and a couple of locking straps. Let's get this done, America.
On the other hand, this is where your juggling skills could come in handy.
Please don't juggle your children. It's not a good idea.
I mean, how dope would that be as a magic trick, though? Your baby goes up in the air, diaper goes up in the air, boom, diapered baby. How did I do it?
That's not how any of this works.
Okay, well, excuse me for trying to solve your problems.
Okay. Have you checked out personandpersonshow.com yet?
We have a website now,
where you can stream full episodes of the show.
Visit today, personandpersonshow.com.
That's personandpersonshow.com.
The only news website by persons for persons. Data, in keeping with going through the U.S. states alphabetically, we're up to Arizona now, so moving right along. I want to talk to you about a particular feature of the Arizona landscape, which is notable because nobody knows where it is. It's the Lost Dutchman Mine.
Oh, yeah. I loved this, the story of this mine when I was a kid.
It's pretty cool. Folks, if you've not heard of it, somewhere in the Superstition Mountains east of Phoenix is said to be a rich gold mine called the Lost Dutchman Mine after Jacob Waltz, who was actually a German. But in those days, Germans were called Dutchmen. Try to keep up. In the 1870s, he comes into town loaded down with gold. He's found this mine, and he means to go back, but he's in poor health, and he never made it back after that. He died in the 1890s after having described vaguely where the mine was, but no one has been able to find it since then. Folks have searched for it, and some have even died trying to find it. But these days, it's on federally protected land. So if you do find it, and you were to tell the government, hey, I found this gold mine, they would say, that's nice, go home. So if you do find the mine, don't dig any gold out of it. Wink.
All right, my story. In 2006, Arizona came up with a novel way to reward voters, the Arizona Voter Reward Act. The act would award a random voter $1 million each election cycle, the idea being that the prize could increase voter turnout. Sadly, only 33.4% of Arizonans voted for the proposition.
That fucking rules.
So it was defeated. It was a novel idea for increasing voter participation, but it also feels a little bit like a lottery. Ultimately, the money comes from the voters in the state in the first place. But is it any worse than wasting it on corporate bribes and the like? I certainly don't think so.
See, that's the thing, because I bet you that's what happened. Is people said, wait, the government's going to give someone money? We can't do that.
Right.
The government's not there to give people anything or to help people in any way or to encourage them to do something pro-social and positive. That rules.
Yeah, it's a good one. Some fast facts about Arizona.
Did you know it's illegal to brush a camel's teeth in Arizona?
Did you know the correct name for a group of Arizonans is a dusty gun of Arizonans?
Did you know that Arizona is the home of the fabled Scorpiote?
Did you know that the chief export of the state of Arizona is fucking heat? Our final segment tonight, as every week, is Person to Person in Person, where we share your valuable feedback with our audience. We're doing another shout out this week. Vanessa, one of our regular listeners, occasionally interacts with the show, and we just wanted to give a quick shout out to Vanessa. Hey, thank you for listening. Thanks for downloading.
Yeah, it's cool that we have fans that we're not directly related to, that we didn't have to beg to listen to the show, so we appreciate you.
Folks, that's all the show we have for you tonight. We invite you to participate in Person to Person and Person, and there's so many ways for you to get yourself heard. Send us an email, personandpersonshow@gmail.com. Drop us a voicemail, 541-249-5933. Find us on Twitter @AnchorPersons and on Facebook @PersonandPersonsShow. Check out our website, personandpersonshow.com. Until next time, this is Gene Person saying you should always end a comedy set with a callback.
And this is Craig Person saying, eat those seeds. Good night.
You listen to the credits, and then you get the stinger. You listen to the credits, and then you get the stinger. You listen to the credits, and then you get the stinger. Stinger, 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 stinger.